Reno, how has social media changed your view of advertising, and how has it changed your view of candidates that come to you?
Well, I mean, I think, what's really been interesting is you look at social media and then you look at traditional media, okay? You look at a television business, social media has benefited the television business in a huge, huge amount of way. I mean, we used to have, we had ratings of award shows and so forth that were pretty much in a downward trajectory, okay? Even sports programming that was in a downward trajectory. And with social media now, what we have is that, a lot of these events are hitting record numbers, okay? That you would have thought 5 years ago that, the death bell of television would be coming sooner. It's breathing life into traditional media because people now are there and they're communicating, they're exchanging ideas, and it's become sort of like, the water cooler, of television business. So it's had huge impact, and I think we look at our clients and they're realizing. You look at the things that convince people to buy a product, okay, or service. The strongest thing is word of mouth. Okay, you can advertise all you want. It all helps, but word of mouth, from your peers, has a dramatic impact. So I think when I see what it's done to just the media business, I think social is probably one of the primary growth areas, I think, for advertising. Great. I really do.
And has it changed your view of candidates? Are you looking for a different kind of candidate based on what you're seeing happening in social media?
I think not because of social media. I think we're looking for candidates that are just inquisitive. I mentioned a lot that there's so much data, but a lot of it is garbage. Because people are not challenging it. They're just taking it at face value, or they're taking it not asking, well, how was that data put together? Okay, is it self-reported data? Okay, what kind of questions did you ask? Who was in the panel? I want people that are willing to challenge that, because or else you can go down past, particularly on, my area is to invest clients' money. So I have to be responsible for how I invest that money and what data I'm utilizing to put valuations on these media properties. So I got to have people that are not going to take things at face value. They're really interested in challenging it. If we ask them to do something, they want to understand what they're doing. What is the objective here? What's the bigger picture? So that if they can find the better road to take versus what we might have suggested the road to take, that then they can enhance the value. So it's really, and that's why I do agree that liberal arts is part of it. People that want to think, people that are just not, in a box, that can't think out of the box. But that's really, that's the kind of people we're looking for. And I think that's the kind of people we find that ultimately thrive in the business.
Yeah. Angela, could you talk about that? How has social media changed your view toward advertising today and in the future, and has it changed the kinds of candidates that you're looking for?
Yeah, I think the biggest way that social media has changed is it's a dialogue, right? It's no longer just about sort of pushing out messages, and there's this very interesting expectation that you can now complain directly to a brand and have results. So as we think about what that means for the types of candidates, I think it's very much an understanding of social platforms, right? In order to be a creator, you have to be a consumer. And so that context is incredibly important. I had just heard a story from someone who said, oh, there was that infamous Oreo 360 tweet during the blackouts. And someone had said, oh, well, we did the same thing, but we did it on Facebook. It's like, well, if you understood how people used Facebook versus Twitter, you would have known, don't put that kind of post in those right places. So I think it's important to have a fluency and a comfort in consuming across those channels as you think about using yourself as the focus group of one to kind of drive some of your decision making.
Yeah. Scott, you guys have a social network. how has social media changed your view toward advertising and the people that you're looking to recruit?
It's significant. So I wouldn't say it's specifically around just the way we recruit, but certainly an understanding of the importance of the social fabric and community aspect, and frankly, the word of mouth component that Rena touched on. I mean, that social really does create that digital word of mouth experience, right? And folks who recognize what the impact of that is are as or more important than folks who just know like a certain social platform particularly well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a major kind of media property vendor agency who's not looking at social in a very material way. And I don't just mean a singular website. I mean like how social continues to feed as the backbone of what people are doing digitally.
Great. So if you were a student in the audience and you had 2 years to graduate, if you could say, stop the train, and there's certain things you must focus on over the next 2 years if you want to get a job with me, Angela, how would you counsel the students today?
So I would break it down into 3 areas. User experience and design, I've kind of put and lumped together as one. Design, not just because you have to have an eye for design, but how do you design experiences and how do you think about the consumer sitting at the center of those? And how does the consumer sort of navigate from place to place, right? Then the next piece of that, we've already talked about data, analytics, and strategy. And I think the data piece is incredibly important. And everybody always says, we have too much data and not enough insights. Right? So how are you then not just able to build the model and pull out the numbers, but build a strategic framework and a story that's being told through those numbers? And then technology, because I think everyone should have some understanding or exposure to how these game-changing products in our lives are being made.